Hey everybody, ROTL Lions UK. Matt and Ash and Ant has his camera off, but I think he'll be joining us in just a second. I'm hoping that Ryan McCluskey will be here as well. I don't know if any of the other guys are coming on at the moment, but we're just getting set up here. Post Super Bowl, Ash, how you doing, mate?
Tired. I've still obviously we stayed up over here. You was at a sports bar, so perhaps you had energy to feed off to while you're watching it. Me, I was just sat on my sofa, literally there, bit wide up to my TV, watching it and being like, I didn't really care either way. At least since the Chiefs won, some of my friends over in America were happy, so I can kind of take solace from that. But at least people saw the value of special teams. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, what an unfortunate play that was for San Francisco, really.
Yeah.
At least the turnover, but the kick as well, which we'll talk about in a minute. Dan talks football in the chat saying Chiefs. Bob Blythe, number 29, says Chiefs. Dan Pass, subscribe at tier 1, his 23rd month. Dan says, hey guys, I'll probably be lurking as it's Erin's City on my day off from nursing school. What a cracking season. Cheers for everything you guys brought. Go Lions. Love heart emoji, lion emoji. Appreciate you, Dan. And got to give a shout out as well to our very good friend Jeff Hurley, who actually gave us a super thanks on the most recent college football podcast after the event. That was yesterday. He commented, Gore does what Gores do. And it's very, very true. And I'm sure that with him being possibly Ant's favourite running back in the class, you're going to hear a lot more about Frank Gore Jr., I am sure, in the next 2.5 months before the draft. I don't know whether Ant is there. Ant, you there? Not yet. That's okay. Right. We have got our nominations to discuss and finalise today ahead of the awards show, which will be sometime next week. I want to make sure that there is as many Royal Lions guys as possible available for it. So it's not necessarily going to be Monday. It's just whenever's the best fit for everyone. So keep your eyes peeled for it. As we go through, I will be taking suggestions. So we've polled our Discord channel to try and get some ideas. We've put a few select questions up on Twitter. We've kind of taken all of those suggestions. I've put a few more people up just because I think they're fairly common sense suggestions, or in a limited field, they're the only possibilities. And then we'll discuss them. And if we can narrow it down, then great. And if that should be what it is, then that is what it is. And the Royal Alliance guys will vote on the ones which are voted for by us. And we'll put a poll up for the ones which are voted for by you. So we're very much going to be led by you guys today in terms of trying to figure out exactly who should be nominated for what, and just kind of really enjoying how good this last 12 months was. Because Ash, I know that it's hard now to think about, and having just watched the Super Bowl, that we kind of feel like we maybe and could have, should have been in, but it's still been a majestic season, maybe the best of, but easily the best of my fandom.
Yeah, and we've got to remember we beat the Super Bowl champs this year. They just come off one and we beat them again, and then we beat them at the start of the season. Obviously, they won it again. And of course, if people have seen the release of next year's logo, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, looks like it's going to be Chiefs Packers or Chiefs Seahawks." Nah, it's gonna be Lions in that Super Bowl, baby. We're going to New Orleans.
I really wish, in some ways, the Lions were playing the Chiefs again next year, so they could schedule that again for Week 1, because that would be sick. That would
Yeah.
be so. Have the apart from it
Yeah.
have to be in Kansas City, and it would be at Detroit, so that wouldn't even be possible, even if we were
Yeah.
playing them. But never mind. I feel like back to
It's
back having us beat them on banner raising night twice would be so cool.
yeah. I believe I saw. Well, again, it's a rumor, but I've seen rumors for either Chiefs Bengals or Chiefs Texans as Week 1 opener.
Or Chiefs Texans, with the Texans coming off season not dissimilar to the Lions last year. They just took it a little bit further. That has everything you want. Texans
Exactly.
going in there and ruining banner raising night for the second year in a row would be so funny.
Yes.
I'm here for it.
Different. So, and then obviously the rumor as well is that it will be well, either Sunday night football or Monday night football. Rams at Lions Week 1. That's
Oh
also a rumor I've seen.
shit.
Exactly.
Okay. I mean, is that more or less fun than week 18?
True.
I guess.
Actually, week 8, doesn't week 18 have to be that's the week of the season has to be divisional. I mean, so we have to play one of the Packers, Bears, or Vikings.
I don't know whether it has to be. I know it has been recently because they just want it to be a bit more fun, but I don't know.
I'll look it up because I know it's always been.
Yeah, you're right. I do think you're right, but I don't know whether I've ever actually seen that be a rule. But you must be right. Because it always is.
Yeah. Yeah, so since the expansion of 2021 season, 18th and final week of the NFL regular season has been divisional. And it has been since 2010, and therefore week 18 is unofficially termed as rivalry week.
Right. That makes sense. Dan Talks Football says Chiefs play the Niners next year. That wouldn't be a bad way to start the 2024 season. That's true, but that has all the hallmarks of like a mid-season Monday Night Football matchup as like the marquee game. Don't know. That Fat Man says, who gets the lion's share of the blame in San Francisco? Is it Kyle Chokes again? We'll get on to that. It's a good question, though. Dan says they also play Baltimore. Bob Life asks, don't have Ravens either next schedule. But Dan says they do. Unless you're talking about the Lions. Not sure. Giovanni Lyons II is in the building as well, saying, yo. And here is Mr. Fitzpatrick. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, guys. You're all right.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Did you... Have you? I know that you said you weren't staying up, but have you watched it now?
Yeah, I watched it this morning.
Did you enjoy?
I did. It was a game for the purists. And you know me, I like my games for the purists. When defenses are on top, it makes for better football. So
I completely agree. I said to Sarah when she said what happened, I said, well, it was a defensive affair, and I think a lot of people would have found it boring, but as a purist, I thought it was terrific. I'm the only person in history who basically enjoyed the Patriots-Rams game. It was just such an exciting, gritty defensive game. Like, you can say 52-50 is a great game, but you know what? Having like 3-0 halfway through the second quarter is great.
And I tell you what, the price of every single offensive lineman in the draft just went up because, like, the offensive line play was shocking yesterday, and like it is around the league, and a lot of teams are going to be going for that. Because I mean, D-lines ran this. Like there was a lot of bad mistakes. Both quarterbacks were getting harassed all over the place. So
I did not feel the same way. The only thing I thought from the offense...
Purdy was under pressure every single throw. Like, the poor dude, like, he couldn't get a break. Mahomes is Mahomes, but he was scrambling a lot as well. Like, there was a lot of pressure brought in those games. I thought there were a lot of bad performances on the O-line. It was D-lines who ran this game. And then everyone started bringing blitzers and pressures and just like, Jesus Christ, all over the place. Because, like, Kansas had nothing in that first. Apart from that 150-odd yard throw that they had nothing outside of that. That was like it.
Yeah.
They were getting nothing going. And then San Francisco stunk up the joint. Ironically, in the third quarter, it was like they went to sleep and they couldn't do much. And it was like, I felt it was more mistakes in this game. It was mistakes. Muffed punts, bad throws. Mistakes made this game. And it was because there was so much pressure. But I thought it was a bad game for the offenses. But defensively, you've got to sort of sit and clap your hands. But I was glad it was the Chiefs who won it right to death. I just like, screw the 49ers, choke artists. And they're not going to be able to keep that team together much longer. So it's, for all his flashy football, Kyle Shanahan still doesn't have a Super Bowl there. He may as well not have anything.
Dan Talks Football says, as a Chiefs fan, I was watching the first half of Detroit San Francisco going, please let San Francisco come back and win the game because I wanted nothing to do with the Lions in the Super Bowl after the first half of the championship game. I do think we would have given a better account of ourselves than the 49ers ended up doing, but I think the game reflected how... Actually, maybe we should talk about this when the audio's fucking on, but... Actually, yeah, let's talk about this when the audio's on, shall we? Mike the Marine says, howdy UKGP brothers and Lions faithful. Hello, hello, hello. Right, yeah, instead of getting all the good content before we've started recording, should we do it now? Silly Fungi has actually a question just before we start. Says, did you have theoretical score predictions if it was Lions versus Chiefs? I didn't, but I can.
No, season's over.
I'd have picked the Lions. It's horrible, isn't it? I would have picked the Lions to win. Just think but even though the Chiefs' defense is top 5, that offense is just, it stinks. And I tell you what, weakest part of the Chiefs team, even though his PFF grade is fantastic, who the fuck cares? Creed Humphrey. What the fuck is your snapping? Like, what was going on with you? Mahomes had to pick it up off his shoelaces every snap. I was going absolutely nuts. I know snapping's like my big thing and it's almost a joke now, but that was so obvious.
Yeah, that's why I put in Discord yesterday. That's why Frank is the number 1 center in the league, because you don't see him making that consistently just bad snaps. You might get the occasional bad snap from us, not like that. It's almost as if Creed thought he was back at Oklahoma and he's snapping to Kyler.
Dan Flynn said it was going to be a long off season. Thanks for all the content this year. Thanks, Dan. And Chrome says, what up, though? Right, let's get on with the show.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the ROTL Lions UK podcast, episode 255, Inevitable. My name's Matthew Cerner alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick and Ashley Soden. How you doing, boys?
Tired. It's what happens when we have to stay up late to watch this, and it goes to overtime, extending it even more for us.
That is one of my tactical decision to not watch the game last night paid off, and I just did it this morning, nice and well rested, and got to enjoy some nice defensive football, which I love.
It was an interesting game, and of course, this is going to be our Super Bowl review show. And we are going to be discussing and finalising the nominations for the 4th annual ROTL Lions UK Detroit Lions Awards show. Date pending sometime next week at the time where we can get the majority of us on. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We put the schedule up on YouTube as soon as we've finalised it, so you'll know when it's coming. But one of the best days of the year as we look back at the season that was and all of the good shit that came out of it. So, we're going to go through the most poor news week in Lions history, potentially, because nothing happened, before looking at the Super Bowl very briefly before getting into those nominations. But first, please come and join our Discord channel. You're going to get some great draft chatter from now all the way up until late April. So, come join us there. Give us some suggestions about stuff that you want to see content-wise. We'd love to see you there. It's a really fun, supportive group of people. And we'd love to have you. Link in the chat right now. College Football Podcast, Stan. It was Shrine Bowl last week, so I presume you're talking Senior Bowl this week.
Yeah, we did our review of the Shrine Bowl week, and yeah, Senior Bowl review this week, and then we move on looking towards the Combine, which is in 2 weeks. All going quite quick on the path to the draft now. Only about 70 days left, so time to get up to speed on everything going on with it.
I've watched 10 players, I think, so far. 8 D linemen, DTs, and 2 cornerbacks. So I'm getting there in the last 3-4 days. I can't wait to actually be up to speed. But Ant and Ryan do such a good job. You need to be in the know when you're in downtown Detroit listening and watching the draft. You'll know who we're talking about when they get picked if you listen to the guys. Please don't forget to like the shows, up to the podcast, all that good stuff. And we're Twitch affiliated, YouTube monetized, and there's a tip jar in the YouTube description down below. So please, if you do enjoy what you're listening to, don't be shy in that regard. There's a feedback form too down there, so if you don't want to join the Discord channel, but you want to make a suggestion for the show, I mean, you can comment on the video, or you can just click the link for the feedback form and let us know there. And the merch store is open as well. I'll put the link in the live chat now, but if you want to support the show, but you want to get something in return, then you could buy a hoodie or a cap or beanie or something like that on there and still be repping us. We'd really appreciate the support. Finally, don't forget to add Lions Nation Unite in their Facebook group, Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. Right. News, the NFL Honours happened. Lions were up for many of the awards, although regarded as outsiders, and quite a few of them, including Rookies of the Year and that sort of thing. Obviously, Dan Campbell was up for Head Coach of the Year, Brad Holmes up for Executive of the Year. They won it in several of the unofficial awards, which we obviously have detailed in the last few weeks. But when it came to the real shebang, we did not get any of them, boys. And I know that the voting for this happens at the end of the regular season, and so the narrative changes between now and then. And it was Stefanski, wasn't it, that won Head Coach of the Year? And yep. I do remember come week 18, the momentum massively growing for Stefanski and what he achieved without a starting quarterback to get that team to the playoffs was a huge feat. But you can't help but feel that out of maybe the three main candidates, that he might have been number 3, really.
Yeah, it should have been D'Amico. D'Amico should have won Coach of the Year. As much as we love Dan, what D'Amico Ryans did with that Texans team, he should have won the award, not Stefanski.
Do you agree, Ant? Who should have won it?
Anyone but him, really. I mean, like, what D'Amico and what Dan have done with their respective franchises are a hella more impressive job. Like, they didn't even finish top of their division. And I know they didn't have the quarterback, but you've got Joe Flacco. It's not exactly like you're wheeling, some scrub out there who can't do it. I know he's been on his ass a little bit, but he's still a good guy. And you've still got an incredibly good team there. A lot of talent. So Dan and D'Amico have had to do it in absentum of some of that. So, I wouldn't have minded if either of those would. Like, Dan's done something at Detroit that no one's done in a long time. D'Amico's taken one of the worst teams in the NFL and turned them into into a playoff caliber team in a year. Like, those are far more impressive than anything Stefanski's done with the Browns. So, like, I wouldn't have minded whoever did that, but yeah, it's kind of a bit of a joke. This is why you do a full season beforehand. It's like the same with the Heisman in college, and that gets done before the playoffs. It's like, come on, let a full season rack out first before you start doing these awards, because then stuff like this happens. Like, he shouldn't be able to hold a candle up to either of those two.
I actually don't know who won Exec of the Year. I can't easily find it. Does anyone know?
I don't think it was announced. Which is sad, which is stupid.
Mate, what is it? Is it not an award? Am I making it up?
It is an award. It's just I have not seen who's won it.
Oh, I couldn't find it after a quick Google. Anyway, we'll move on. Last bit of news. Former Lions coach Brian Duker has been hired by Miami, and he replaces the former Jags cornerback coach, passing game coordinator Deshae Townsend, who we signed. Is that right?
Yeah. So it was. Townsend was announced, and everyone was a bit like, well, me included, is this the end of Dre Bly? And then it came out a couple of days ago that Duker has been hired by Miami. So with a potential reunion with Deshaun Elliott, the safety used to play for us, and he obviously coached in Ravens. So it's coming together. And obviously the passing game coordinator title is a bit interesting that now we have it for both sides. So you have obviously on the offensive side, Tanner Engstrand is our passing game coordinator, Hank is the run game coordinator, and now on our the defensive side we have a passing game guy with Townsend, and then our new defensive line coach will be our run game coordinator on the defense as well. Just spreads duties out a bit, I guess.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the Super Bowl then, and the Chiefs run out 25-22 winners after overtime with 3 seconds left on the clock. San Francisco, Brock Purdy had a good, not great night, I would say. 23 of 38 for 255 and a touchdown. Juwan Jennings came out and threw one pass for a touchdown for 21 yards as well. On the ground, San Francisco had McCaffrey go 22 for 80. Brock Purdy had 3 for 12. Elijah Mitchell 2 for 8. Deebo Samuel 3 for 8. Juszczyk 1 for 2. They really struggled to get anything going on the ground, despite having great success in the first quarter in that regard. And then in the receiving game, McCaffrey led the team with 8 of 8 for 80 and a touchdown, and no one else broke 50. Brandon Ayuk, 3 of 6 for 49. Juwan Jennings got a receiving touchdown, 2, 4 of 5 for 42. The second player in NFL history to get a passing and receiving touchdown after Nick Foles. Deebo Samuel was 3 of 11 for 33. Juszczyk was 2 of 2 for 31. Nothing else notable in there apart from George Kittle with 4 receiving yards. For Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, 34 of 46 for 333, 2 touchdowns and a pick. In the rushing game, he also led the team, 9 carries for 66 yards. Pacheco, 18 carries for 59 yards. Rashee Rice, 2 attempts for 5 yards. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 1 for none. Receiving-wise, Kelsey was 9 of 10 for 93, with 8 of those 9 receptions, I think, coming in the fourth quarter or overtime. Mecole Hardman, 3 of 3 for 57, and the game-winning score. Justin Watson, 3 of 5 for 54. Rashee Rice was fairly quiet, 6 of 8 for 39. Valdez Scantling got a late touchdown to get the Chiefs back in it, 3 of 5 for 20 and a touchdown. In terms of turnovers, McCaffrey had a fumble lost and Darrell Luter had a fumble lost on special teams. I'm trying to read this because there's so many bloody fumbles. Mahomes had 2 fumbles, of which he got 1 back. We'll come on to that in a minute. Pacheco had 1 which he obviously lost. Richie James had a recovery and a fumble. Rashee Rice had a fumble. And then Watson, Karlaftis, and Jalen Watson all had recoveries. I mean, it was just fumble mania out there. On defense, the one interception on the day was by Jair Brown, who's had a fantastic season. We heard all about him 2 weeks ago when they played Detroit. They were led in tackles by Fred Warner with 13. They had 3 sacks, 1 by Eric Armstead, 1 by Javon Hargrave, 1 by Chase Young, and 3 other tackles for a loss, 2 by Nick Bosa, 1 by Travarius Ward. And then for Kansas City, they were led by Nick Bolton with 13. They had 1 sack on the day, shared between Justin Reed and George Karlaftis, and they had 4 other tackles for a loss, 1 by Nick Bolton, 1 by Leo Chanel, 1 by Mike Pennell Jr., and 1 by Felix Anduike Uzoma. In terms of kicking, Jake Moody had 3 of 3 on field goals, but a crucial 1 of 2 on extra points. Harrison Butker was perfect with 4 of 4 and 1 for 1. And then both punters finished with 5 punts for 254 yards, which is just a very, very weird coincidence. Boys, those are your stats. And, I mean, San Francisco got out to a big lead in this game. No score after the first quarter. They were 10-3 up at the half. But then they were suddenly 13-10 down after 3. It went to overtime with the Chiefs just squeaking it. How do you feel the game went? And, you've most recently watched it. Edgy game, especially at the start. And, San Francisco had some great offensive success without really scoring any points.
Yeah, it was a battle of 2 different types of defense. Sort of. The Chiefs was bend not break. They did give up some yardage, but then they got the takeaways, which obviously inevitably helped. The 49ers just, they played really well to start this. They were just very aggressive against Patrick. You don't kind of sit there and let him pick you apart. You go after him. That's how Tampa won their Super Bowl against the Chiefs. They were just uber aggressive against the quarterback and stopped him getting in a rhythm. And then that's what they did. But they were unable to capitalize. Like I said, the 49ers had a lot of the run in early doors, and to only be up by as much as they were, to go into the half only 7 up, you kind of felt, that's an opportunity missed there for them. They should have put more points on the board, and they were making mistakes. Like Trent Williams kept getting pinged for false starts, and that's unfamiliar of him. Usually he's pretty good in that regard. But the Chiefs did nothing. They had 1 50-yard throw, and that was it. And, the 49ers should have been well ahead by this point. But as you know, you give them an opportunity, they adjust at the half. The Chiefs come out and just look like a completely different team. Their pass rush starts getting home. You've keep the 49ers quiet. Their offense did nothing in the third quarter. You start putting Purdy under a lot of pressure. Like every time the kid's dropping back or taking a snap, he's under pressure by somebody. And then you see the experience come through in the end with the Chiefs when they need 3 points near the end of the game in that sort of situation. There's no quarterback better than Patrick Mahomes to drive them all the way up the field to get them to where they need to. And then to get the game winner as well as time expires in overtime. That is what experience does for you at that level. Like the 49ers, for me, are complete frauds this year. They only got to the Super Bowl because us and Green Bay were both young teams who couldn't see games out against them. Like the Packers should have beaten them. They're a younger team than us. They made mistakes. They allowed the 49ers back into it. We definitely should have beaten the 49ers, as much as it still hurts to say at this point. We're a young team. We've made mistakes. We weren't able to see it out. Not for the Chiefs, though. The Chiefs, lots of wily veterans on their guys who can make plays when they need to. Underrated utility guys, lots of depth to be able to cover anyone who goes out hurt. Because there are a lot of injuries in this one as well. But they ultimately have the experience to make up what us and Green Bay were unable to. But I think the Chiefs were worthy winners in the end. Because, the 49ers did look better, but they didn't take advantage of it. You got to put points on the board, and they just made a ton of mistakes. And actually, I was really glad when the Chiefs did, because I'm biased. I didn't want the 49ers to win. I think Shanahan's he's an offensive guru, but I think there's a lot of smoke blown up his arse. He's not as good as people make him out to be. And this team of his now, they are choke artists. You want to go to a Super Bowl 3 times, but you lose all 3 of them, you may as well not have gone at all. Because if you can't get over the last dance, what's the point? And this team now seems to have reached an area where it can't go past. It can't go past the Chiefs. It can't get to the end. So it was a fun game. I loved it. I love defensive games. Defensive line play was out of this world. Chase Young showed up, George Karlaftis showed up, Bosa showed up, all the guys on the interior showed up, Chris Jones. It's I love that kind of football. And neither of the offenses really were able to get on top for long periods of time. So, one of the more enjoyable Super Bowls in recent memories, and the right team won.
Ash, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I completely agree. Just got to add, obviously, I'm the special teams guy. It was a great game for special teams. Like you said, the punters, they were doing their best Jack Fox impressions. Chris Conley, I believe, for the Niners, he was here, there, and everywhere, both in the receiving game and then obviously being a gunner on the punts, getting down there. The missed extra points for the Niners, which obviously probably ultimately cost them the game, because if they sunk that, they had a better chance of winning, because who knows, the Chiefs probably would have gone for 2 and then got it on one of the touchdowns they got, and so on and so forth. Special teams came out to play and showed why it matters and why it can be the edge, why I keep banging on about it, because sometimes it can decide these kind of games where neither offense can really get on top. Defenses, for the most part, are doing their thing. It's those extra little quirks and get you the extra the win. And as the analysts were saying going into the game, Chiefs had the better special teams, and it proved in the end. So we're here for it. Obviously, there's going to be discussions on some of the 49ers choices, let's say. Obviously, abandoning and running the third, getting the ball first in overtime, supposedly not knowing the new overtime rules, even though it wouldn't matter, because obviously they kicked field goals. It was still old overtime rules anyway. Shanahan, I agree. I think he's the only coach now to have been in 3 Super Bowls and lost all of them despite having double-digit leads, because obviously he was the OC for the 28-3 Falcons collapse against the Patriots, and then he was up against the Chiefs a couple of years ago, way back when I was still in uni. It was J-Lo and Shakira as the halftime show. They were going to lead at that, and then there was the third, fourth quarter collapse with Jimmy G, and now this one where they were 10 points ahead and they still lost. If we were there, might have been a different game. We might have got a foothold early and kept our foot on the Chiefs' defense, because they were good against the pass. They were a bit susceptible to the run. If there's one team that knows how to exploit the run, it's us. So who knows? If we could have won it. Might have been a different game. Maybe Taylor Swift would have to go and write another breakup album after watching Travis lose. But instead, we're in this reality. No point harping on the past, I guess, and what ifs and what maybes.
On special teams, I must say, I felt really sorry for Jake Moody, who breaks the Super Bowl record for longest field goal kick, only for Harrison Butker to then immediately break it again. Like, that record has stood for a long time, and like the
30
kick
years.
kicked so well. He's like, yes, I've got the longest one in history. Harrison Butker's like, well, actually, I feel like doing it this time. I felt so sorry for him. It's like, that's a big moment for him. Now he's got the loss and he doesn't have the record. It's like, poor guy. I do feel for him.
It's just such a funny game in general. I mean, the number of 3-and-outs was insane. End of the first half, Chiefs had 1. Start of the second half, 3 and interception, 3-and-out, 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 field goal, 3-and-out, 3-and-out, muff punt, touchdown, 1 play. But then later on, there were none after that. But just that third quarter went a bit barren there, and with the Chiefs getting 1 score to bring it from 10-3 to 10-6 kind of felt like a big moment for them. But just, I said the offensive production was there, but there were no score. You know, the 49ers get a fumble forced by Leo Chanel at the end of the first drive. Then 3 punts. You've got a fumble in there by the Chiefs. You've got a pick by the Chiefs. You've got just big plays all over the place. And even though the 49ers got out to that lead, did either of you feel like that it was comfortable or deserved?
Not at the half. The fact they dominated so much and kept Patrick so quiet for an entire half and they were up by a touchdown, that's like, no. If you want to beat truly special quarterbacks, you have to put them away while you're on top. There was always going to be a phase. And that's to say, that's the 3rd time the Chiefs have now come from double-digit down to win their Super Bowls. Like, you can't give them a route back into it. You've just got to put the foot down. You've got to keep scoring. And they didn't. And it was their own fault, really, because there were several promising drives. And through mistakes of their own, they came to nothing. So it never felt comfortable, like, at all. And you saw in the second half it wasn't either. I didn't even feel comfortable for them when they got the field goal, like, in the 2-minute drill. Like, sorry, in overtime. I didn't feel confident for them then. And you see the clock's winding down, and you're like, they're going to do this. They're giving way too much soft coverage here. They're letting him move down the field. They stopped going after him. And then when they did start going after him, Patrick knew and still blitzed them. And they just called a really bad game to end it off. Like, it never felt comfortable for the 49ers.
No, I totally agree. Some key moments, and you mentioned injuries, and I think maybe the really big turning point potentially was when Dre Greenlaw decided that he was going to try and run onto the field and just did something. I don't know what it was, but obviously.
Or ACL.
Oh, jeez, yeah, that's just. And you know, he's one of their best players in the linebacker position, alongside Fred Warner. And between them, that's maybe the best linebacker tandem in the league, apart from maybe the Chiefs or Baltimore. And you know, to lose a big piece of the puzzle, it felt like a kind of hammer blow. I will give a big shout out to San Francisco's Deebo Samuel, who looked like he just tore the hell out of his hamstring and continued to play. Just props to that man for fighting through the pain. I mean, he didn't have a good game, but it was amazing to come back from that. I couldn't believe it when I still saw him on the field. What are we going to do?
It was wrong. They didn't lose just him. They lost Kittle. They lost Feliciano, the guard. I think they lost Jair Brown as well. Like, after he had a really good game. Like,
he played every snap, Jair Brown, apart from one. So
I thought he got knocked out going into overtime. Anyhow, they had some big, like, not having Kittle on there is huge. Like, I know he only had 4 yards, but he can have like 95% of a quiet game and then make the play that you need. Because like the backup tight end got pinged for holding on one of the drives, and like just little things like that influence the game. Losing your offensive lineman, your better guard that you had on at the point, like it. I think injuries affected them really badly, unfortunately.
It was one of those. Yeah, Okay, so very finally, I guess. In fact, no, there's one thing I wanted to mention just because I'm selfish and Ash got to mention his special teams love. So I'm just going to mention snapping because the fumbles that were on Mahomes were not on Mahomes. Like, if the ball almost bounces before it gets to you, can you really say it's the quarterback's fault? Snapping is a skill, and Creed is a young centre. So I'm not blaming him necessarily. That's not what I mean. It's just when you're asking someone to quarterback by taking the ball off his feet every single time, that means he's looking down, not at the on rushing players. It really could have killed the Chiefs. I think if they'd lost, I would have pointed to that as the reason that they lost. But obviously they came up with a victory. But it was one of those things. Obviously, the Super Bowl MVP was awarded to Patrick Mahomes, and down the stretch, he had some wonderful rushes to get the team in scoring range and convert some key third downs, especially after the insane pass to, who was it? Was it Mecole? No. Who was the guy who received it 5 yards down the field and then came back 9 yards for a loss of 4? On the final drive.
I think that might have been Jennings because that wasn't at the point when I said.
It's Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
Because they went back to him the very next play. But he turned 2nd and 5 into 2nd and 14. And Mahomes got them out of trouble on that set and then the next set. Big rushes. But he was awarded Super Bowl MVP. But if I term it as player of the game, who do you guys think was the player of the game? Not necessarily most valuable in that way, but just who you thought won it.
Well, people on Discord know who my vote was for. Mitch Wishnowsky. That dude was booming the ball, and in that time when the Niners were stalling in the third quarter, he made sure that they got a good field position to try and stop the Chiefs' juggernaut. It just wasn't enough, obviously, in the end. And his snap for his hold on the bad snap for the first field goal. Actually, no, it was the other way around. It was Townsend, wasn't it, for the Chiefs? It's actually both punters, man. Both punters deserved it. They're arguably the best performing players for each team. Don't care.
I mean, MVP. You know what? Screw it. I'd give it to George. Like Carl Aftis. Everyone talks about, and you know, there's a draft bias here, but everyone talks about Chris Jones on that line. He gets so underappreciated in what he does, and everyone talks about the Niners edge rushes and that, but George, like, he had the sack on there was the fumbles he helped with. He had a really good performance for the Chiefs. He really put Brock Purdy under a lot of pressure. Like, he was the main focal guy there, and he's so underappreciated in what he does, and that ultimately help them win because Purdy starts throwing all the incompletions because of the pressure coming his way. The offense stalls. Maybe it's down to the 49ers and their play calling, etc. But I think he really stood out and he had an excellent game on that line. He was the standout guy on the Kansas D line. That's inevitably what stopped the 49ers. So I'd give it to George.
I have one guy and then I have an honourable mention as well because I'm selfish. The one guy that it is, I've already discussed with Ash and he's going to hate me for it and I just don't care. And it's Leo Chenal. He forced a fumble, he blocked the extra point, and he had several noticeable stops against Christian McCaffrey when the game could have got away from them. When it came to affecting the game in terms of actual points on the board and game-changing moments in the fumble and the block on the extra point, he's the clear winner for me. Only played 27 defensive snaps, but without him, they lose. The honourable mention is to Mike Pennell. In the centre of that defensive line, he was just unbelievable. He got one pressure on the day, but otherwise he had 3 massive tackles again on Christian McCaffrey. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to stop the best offense in the league, as they are termed, the San Francisco 49ers, you've got to stop Christian McCaffrey. And yeah, okay, in an overtime period included, he got 160 odd total yards. But he never felt like he was taking over the game except for maybe the first quarter, where they scored no points. So they did a number on San Francisco's offense. The Kansas City defense won it. I agree with Ant on that point. I'm going away from Carl Aftis for Chenal and Pennell, can't remember how you say his name. Brent DeWitt has said Chris Jones. I thought he was a wrecking ball as well up there. Yeah. And Trent McDuffie was fantastic as well. So all over the field, the Chiefs' defense was just really very good. Any honourable mentions you guys want to shout out?
Whoever made that tackle on the streaker, really good form from them there.
I didn't see the streaker, I have to say.
Oh, you weren't watching the Nickelodeon cast? They were the only ones to get footage of it. Somehow the child-friendly one's the one that got the footage of the streaker. It's in fact, actually, on shout out to the Nickelodeon cast. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched clips of it. It's actually pretty damn good. So they had the whole thing. You might have seen the clip where it was Dora the Explorer explaining what a false start is. And then she turns to Boots like, "Where are we going, Boots? 5 yards back." I was cracking sitting on the sofa at 2:30 in the morning, just pissing myself laughing as Dora the Explorer explains a false start.
I tell you what, it'd be better than Tony Romo talking crap all game. So I would rather have watched the Nickel. You know what? I used to really like him as an analyst, and I actually started listening to the stuff he says, and then I realized 95% of it is just absolute gibberish. It's just lots of nice terminology and stuff in there to make you think he knows what he's talking about, but he doesn't. I hate him now.
The only thing I like him for is when he draws out what he thinks the player is going to be on the screen. So instead of just saying, if he's got enough time where he can be like, in this alignment, I think these rushes are going to both blitz. Like, I think he showed one where both edges or both linebackers walked up to the line. You think, these two are going to blitz and the edges are going to drop or whatever. And I was like, cool. Like, I can see where this is coming from. The majority of the time, I completely agree, and he's not worth the airtime. And, you know, if there's going to be a space opening up with Brady going into the broadcast booth, so maybe they can bin off Romo for someone a bit more talented.
It's like for the winning touchdown, he goes, "Oh, this is Andy's secret play." It's like, how many times have you seen that play in your life? Like, just the guy sort of sneaking out the back. Like, it's what every team does. It's like, stop talking out your ass, please. It's not a secret play in any way, shape, or form. Like,
I literally saw someone post that pretty much exact play earlier in the day and said, "Here, Ben Johnson, please do this with JMO." As you say, it's not secret. Every fucker does it.
Exactly. It's just like, oh, you're trying too hard. Like, just be you. Yeah, he's all right when he's in, but I think you should try too fucking hard.
I will have one final shout out, and it's going to be one that might be contested. Not sure. Bill Vinovich, congratulations on your third Super Bowl as head referee. I thought you had a terrific game. Like, there's no calls I really sat there and thought that was wrong. None at all. I know obviously there was the call on the broadcast booth that one of the touchdowns should be done for illegal man downfield. No. Really damn good, well-called game from it. And his explanation at the start of overtime as well, to say it's the start of a new game, and explain the new rules so people who might just be tuning in for the first time understood what's going on. Pretty damn good.
You know, I'll give another honourable shout out to Andy Reid for not twatting Travis Kelce when he got in his face and put hands on him. Like, I would have just turned around and absolutely clouted him. Like, you disrespectful so-and-so for doing it. I can't stand him. He just gets worse and worse by the week, Travis Kelce does. But in the grand scheme of things, you do actually have to give a shout out to Andy Reid, because like at the start of this, he was the guy who, like, he nearly done it, but hadn't really quite done it, and like his legacy as a coach was up in the air. And now, like a few years later, from potentially him retiring or whatever, he's now created a dynasty. Like it's a dynasty now. We can't call it anything else other than a dynasty. Like, Patrick's never not been to an AFC Championship game. It's, you know, the level of success he's having is huge. And the thing is, it's probably the weakest iteration of a team he's had so far, like in terms of overall sort of talent of his first 22. It's probably not even been his strongest. And they've been away to Baltimore, away to Buffalo, beating the 49ers, and just every time they find a way to win. And it's him and his coordinators, and you know, it's just truly an absolutely impressive job as what he's done. And it's going to take something superhuman to move this team now, I reckon, because they will just get better. And like, how do you beat them?
It
Apart from
just
his Euros.
give some praise to Matt Nagy. Did Ant really just praise
It's
Matt
more
Nagy, the
to
offensive
it's more
coordinator?
to it's more to Spagnolo. We all know Andy Reid runs the offensive side of things there. Like Matt Nagy's just a glorified paper cup holder. So
I think Nagy is a good offensive coordinator, and I don't think that that's particularly contentious. He's just not a good head coach, and that's okay. Spagnuolo is also not a good head coach, and we've seen that. And he's a fantastic defensive coordinator. Spagnuolo is potentially the best DC in the league, for me. It's very close if he's not, because... And the thing about his defenses is that the Chiefs often, after the first 5 or 6 games, have like the 25th ranked defense. And by the time they get to January, they're somehow top 10. And to go from 25 to top 10, it meant they were a top 5 unit for the second half of the season. Yeah. When it's most important, his teams hit their stride.
It's because as we heard on, was it week 1 we've had someone on? He spends the first, before the bye, I don't want to say twatting around with his players, but just putting them in different situations, seeing what they can do well, what they can't do well. So when it comes out the bye, he's had a good week then to game plan exactly what roles to put them in, and yet it just turns them all around. So yeah, like for me, one of the great things, this Super Bowl was probably the battle of two of the best defensive coordinators in the league. So I really do love Steve Wilkes as well.
Yeah.
He's got 4 Super Bowl wins now, hasn't he, Spagnuolo? He's got 4 Super Bowls. Like, there can't be many coordinators who've got 4 Super Bowls.
No,
I think he's the first to do it. I can double check, but I think he's the first guy to win that many.
I will just explain, by the way, one of the overtime rules, which I overlooked, and I think a lot of people don't really still understand, and it's because either the rules are poorly written or the rules are misquoted, and I haven't checked. So the rules say that each team will have the opportunity to possess the ball. And a lot of people have kind of speculated as to, okay, well, what does that mean if a team turns the ball over with 1 second left on the clock? They've had the ball and and the overtime period ends and that's it. No. The rules should read thusly. Each team will have an opportunity to complete at least 1 full drive. And that means if time expires and it's only been 1 drive each, either the clock resets to 15 minutes and you carry on, or that drive becomes untimed apart from there's just a play clock ongoing. Ash, you might know?
It goes back to 15. It's basically
go.
start a new quarter.
Keep going into extra
and then,
overtimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes into, and then both teams have had a drive. Not as because I know we discussed it. As soon as they've had both a drive, then it's sudden death. So then, if let's say the Chiefs stalled out there and they had to kick a field goal, if the Niners then went and kicked a field goal, they win.
It makes you wonder why after the first drive there's a game clock at all. Because if it's sudden death and you have to wait for a score, why have a period? It doesn't really make any sense.
I know. I tell you what, though, it was ballsy how the Chiefs let the clock run right down to the end.
I was calling out. This is why I didn't realise.
I was like, why aren't you taking the timeout?
Same. Same. We're all... Yes, we're all like that. And I know, to go back to previous points, I've looked up. Spagnuolo, has now won the most Super Bowl wins for defensive coordinator with this one. Before, he was tied with Richie Pettibon, 1982, 1987, 1991 with Washington. And Romeo Crennel, the former Houston Texan head coach with New England in 2001, 2003, 2004.
All right.
Wow.
Let's move on, shall we, to the nominations. So, a week from now, that sort of time, I mean, look at Monday, but if enough people aren't available on Monday, we'll move the day to make sure people are available. We're going to have our 4th annual awards show. It's one of my favourite days of the year where we look back and just enjoy the year that has been by, I won't say giving some flowers because I know Ant hates it, so handing out a big box of cigars, shall we say, rather than just the small one that we do at the end of every game. And so we've got 12 awards to hand out. 2 are fan voted for and 10 are voted for by the ROTL Lions boys themselves. We're obviously going to get lots of stuff up on social media. The fan votes will be going up as soon as we decide who the nominees are. And this is part of the exercise. And to do this, we need your help. So if you're listening on the audio show on Tuesday and you have some suggestions and you just want to at the channel on Twitter, more than happy to take suggestions because we probably won't finalise it until at least Wednesday morning. But we're going to go through this exercise in the live chat as well. We need lots of suggestions for these sorts of things. We've got some initial thoughts from our Discord channel. We're going to go through them with you now, and hopefully we'll come to a consensus by the end of it. And the first vote I have up, it's not necessarily the order it will go in on the night, but the first vote is going to be the fans' moment of the year, boys. And when you think about what might be your favourite moment of the season so far, I've got some suggestions up already, but I'd love to hear maybe some ideas thrown out there, not maybe of what was the best one, but just some fun moments that you've had in this season. What do you think?
Oh, I thought you were reading them. Didn't you say you were reading them out?
Oh, I'll read them out if you want. I mean, the idea is that we can add or subtract to these as well. So this isn't meant to be an exhaustive list. But, okay, so we have the Ifeatu Melifonwu interception versus Minnesota to win the division. We have the Amon-Ra St. Brown catch to ice the Rams' playoff win, with Goff raising his arms to the air for the ensuing kneel down after that. You've got the Barnes interception versus Tampa Bay to ice that game to go to the NFC Championship game. You've got the Brian Branch pick six against Kansas City on week 1. The Gibbs 27-yard rushing touchdown against Las Vegas, where he jumps into the Ford Field crowd and She-Hulk manages to drag him up the side. And you've got, before the LA Rams playoff game, the Jared Goff chant becoming absolutely deafening pre-game. I don't know if you have any other suggestions. Mike the Marine has just said the Craig block for the touchdown for Amon-Ra St. Brown. We do have that in the award for play of the year, but it is a moment, of course it is. So I'm going to put that in as well because it has to be there, I think.
Yes, it was. Okay, you can still hear that hit reverberating now. It won Block of the Year as well, didn't it? In like one of those unofficial awards.
Yes, it did. Any other thoughts? Anything you don't think deserves to be there? Because that's a long list already. We've got 6, 7, but there could easily be more. It's been such a great year.
I mean, I would have to go ahead and put in there Brad Holmes in the elevator.
Exactly.
Like that is something that's going to live with me till the end of my days. That will Brad Holmes just going absolutely crazy in an elevator and this whole lift full of people. Like, oh my god, what have we just got in here with?
I need to splice together that with
passion.
Gangnam Style and put the two videos side by side where they're both in the elevator. I really need to do this because it's so funny. I love it. Dan?
I know it was a penalty, but we shouldn't really be celebrating a player getting brutally hurt, but the Bruce Irvin WWE moments on Derek Carr.
I'm not putting that in, but it was very good.
It's a moment. It's a moment for sure.
It definitely was a moment, but I think in the interest of trying to narrow this down slightly, I'm not sure I want to put that in there, even though it was really good.
Maybe the I know it's Pro Bowl, so you shouldn't really care, but the Penne just doing the sled and that with Jason Kelsey beaming down him and Aiden going at the side as our Lions carried the NFC to their second straight Pro Bowl games win.
Or Skipper reporting eligible against the Vikings. I like the game
the
after.
cheer. Yeah.
The cheer that goes up when Skipper reports eligible.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yes.
I like
or if we're doing moment of the year, we could also mention the billboards as well. Like all the billboards that went up around Michigan. That's a moment that you'll remember.
I mean, it carried on. Didn't you see the tweet a couple of weeks ago when the season ended? It was like, thank you, Taylor Decker, for your great service. We had a good thing. It's just a picture of Dan Skipper.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's a moment and a half. that whole the whole eligible saga. Just call it the eligible saga or the eligibility saga.
Eligible gate.
Dan Pasca's ventured that we'll come to it, but that I have unnecessarily amalgamated 2 awards into one. So we did have a comeback player of the year, which was basically a injury award for someone who came back from injury the previous year, and a non-injury related one, which we called most improved player. I removed the comeback player because there seemed to be not a huge amount of players coming back from injury, and sometimes some of them weren't actually that good when they came back, and I kind of felt like it was sometimes a harsh award, but we can get there and then see how we feel about it potentially, I guess. I'm not sure. Anyway, we'll get there. But those are our moments of the year, so there's quite a few of them there. Iffy interception, Barnes interception, Amon-Ra catch to win the playoff game, Branch pick 6, Gibbs being hoisted into the forward field rafters, the Jared Goff chant before the Rams game, the Craig block against Tampa, Brad Holmes in an elevator. I also feel like Brad Holmes after the KC game could absolutely be up there, just high-fiving all the crowd.
Or just Brad Holmes post-win celebrations, as a thing.
As a collection of moments, an anthology.
As a collectible, yeah.
Since we've also got Eligible Gate on there as well.
We could do it to the theme music of Dragon Ball Z, because that'd be perfect. Like Brad Holmes' reactions after wins to the music of Dragon Ball Z.
See, it tells a lot that you thought that, and for me, my mind went to Winx Club.
Of course it would.
Right.
Of course it would.
Let's move on to Fans Vote Player of the Year. Now, this award is not meant to be MVP. It is specifically worded as Player of the Year to mean whatever you want it to mean, whether that is Walter Payton-style Man of the Year, whether it's just your favourite player from the Lions, whatever you take it to mean, that's fine. And the players I have on here so far are Jared Goff, Aiden Hutchinson, Frank Ragnow, Penny Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Dan Skipper. Did you just put that in there?
Yes.
You bastard. That is not going in there.
That's what she said.
Thank you, Michael. Is there anyone that we've missed?
Yes, Dan Skipper.
Is there anyone else that we've missed?
Is this the point when we make the inevitable long snapper joke? Is it that?
Yeah, I was about to say Scott Bailey's Jake McQuaid.
Yeah.
He's not going to get any votes apart from maybe you guys.
We can amalgamate them, like the McQuailey, like both of them.
Oh no, Scott McQuailey. Oh no.
An amalgamation of long snappers. You know what? In all seriousness, I think Aleem should be in there.
Yeah.
His improvement's been just as impressive as anybody's. And, we owe a lot to him coming on this year.
We do.
I know we put the big names in there, but we've got some of the underappreciated guys as well. Because, I feel like Jameer should be in there as well. Like, the plays he's made this year are special.
I actually don't know how many things I can put in a Twitter poll. I think I can only put 4. Actually, so it just won't be a Twitter poll. I'll have to do it on. I'll have to do it on Google, won't I? That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll put Jameer in as well. Aleem and Jameer are both in. I think those are fair shouts. Right. Now, the rest of these are going to be Roar the Lions voted for, but we need suggestions for what the nomination should be, so please still get involved. Game of the year. So the suggestions we have so far, Vegas Monday Night Football Week 8 with the donning of the new helmets, and obviously winning that game. Versus Rams Wildcard Weekend at Tampa Bay in Week 6, beating Tampa in their own backyard with Goff having a terrific performance. And at Kansas City in Week 1, beating the Chiefs on banner raising day. Are there any big games that we've missed? I feel like
Vikings to win the division.
Yeah. But I hesitate to put Tampa divisional round in because it feels like that wasn't as significant as the Rams game potentially. I don't know.
Rams would be,
in terms of entertaining, I would venture the Chargers game. Like, that was just a full-on shootout and was really fun to watch. And plus, we won.
Right, hang on a tick. Let me just bring up my trusty thing here. So, versus Min to win Division Week 18. Was it Week 18? We won the division? No, it was week at Minnesota, Week 16, wasn't it?
16, yeah, because it was Christmas Eve. Because you guys obviously hopped on afterwards, and I couldn't because I was at home.
Yes, I was watching the game at Sarah's parents, and they were alarmed. Sorry, what?
So it was 16,
Chargers
wasn't it?
game.
So it was, yeah.
At Chargers, Week 10.
And I'd venture beating the Bears because I just hate the Bears. And plus, it was that cool safety to do it.
The safety was fantastic. Yeah.
We'll come on to that in a second.
I despise the Bears, so any opportunity to throw shade at them.
So, which Bears game that beating them was Week 11?
Week
Not the
11.
one we lost. I'm not voting that for Game of the Year. Bloody hell, that were an awful game. They were both awful, but at least we salvaged the first one.
Oh, if I can actually write it in the right thing, that'd be good. Versus Chi Week 11. Okay, good stuff. Brent says Game of the Year KC. Detfan Man says Craig Reynolds block versus Tampa Bay. Brent says all great moments, but I like the Jared Goff chant. Mike says Game 1 at KC. Lost Ocean says, are we counting postseason? Yeah, it all counts. It definitely all counts. So if you feel like maybe Tampa does have to go in there. Okay, let's move it on to the next one, which is Play of the Year. So inevitably we have the Craig Reynolds block at Tampa for the Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown. We have the Hutch strip sack safety on fields to win the game against Chicago in Week 11. We've got the David Montgomery 75-yard touchdown against the LA Chargers with the JMO block downfield to spring him free. There's the JMO end around to the right for a touchdown in the NFC Championship game. And the Jalen Reeves-Maybin pass to Khalil Dorsey on a fake punt against Dallas. Are there any big misses there? I mean, there were so many good plays. And it's a tough one, because trying to remember individual plays from a season is so bloody hard. I mean, in there, I don't have one of the things which I put as one of my moments of the year, which was the Brian Branch pick 6 against Kansas City. So,
JMO Superman leap.
Yeah,
that was... Oh, no, that wasn't the same play, was it? JMO Superman. That was against Chicago?
No, I don't think so. I want to say it was against the Packers, but could be wrong.
JMO Superman leap against the
against Saints.
Saints, yeah.
Oh yeah, of course it was, because he flew out the Superdome.
Out at Saints Week 11. Week 11? Week... No, that wasn't Week 11. Week 13.
13, yeah.
Lost Ocean said Hutch interception behind the back, almost.
That was against the Panthers. Yeah,
Why don't I remember that?
I remember it. Hang on, Aiden Hutchinson.
Oh, where he got hit and it looks like he could have had his ribs fucking destroyed. Yes. Yeah, I remember it. Yeah, great pick. Got so many suggestions, though. Hutch, INT, versus Panthers?
Yeah.
Week 5. Haven't had many suggestions for that Carolina game, so good to get it mentioned. Right.
I mean, there was the JMO TD against Tampa as well, that one where they blew it open.
Yeah, that was really cool. In the interest of keeping this down, I will not put that in now, because otherwise there's just so many. Which is obvious because of how many good plays we've bloody had this year. It's been great. Right, Man of the Year. Now, for us, this one is designed to be a Walter Payton style award. So obviously the Lions nominated their own guy in this, but we can have our own suggestions. So some of the suggestions that we've had from the chat have been Alex Anzalone, Frank Ragnow, Penny Sewell, Jared Goff, Aiden Hutchinson, Amon Russell Brown, Teddy Bridgewater, and Taylor Decker. So we already have 8 on the list, which I think is insane. But there's a lot of stand-up characters in this team. Any thoughts on maybe people who shouldn't be on that list? Not because they're not good people, but just because they're maybe just not quite as good as some of the others in terms of what they do for the community, how much of a leader they are in the team, all that sort of stuff.
Benito for his outfits.
It's a good suggestion.
It is a good suggestion.
Screw it, we need to get Benito in there mentioned somehow. He's been a talismanic player. I really, really like both the Alex Anzalone shout and the Teddy Bridgewater shout. Bridgewater's been a massive part of this, and it's so understated.
Especially for JMO.
All right, without further suggestions there, I think I'm going to move it on. Coach of the Year, which I think will be hotly contested. So far, the suggestions we have are Scotty Montgomery, Hank Fraley, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell. Anyone else deserving?
Dave Fitt.
Kelvin's got to be in there.
Kelvin's got to be in there.
Dave Fitt, you've just put in.
Yeah.
Kelvin Shepherd. I'm going to butcher the spelling.
Oh, correct. Yeah,
For some reason, I feel like there's an H in the middle of it, but I don't know. I'll take it out because it doesn't look right. Anyway, anyone else?
I mean, there's not that many more left, to be fair.
I mean,
I guess like you would put Brunel in there because of what he's done with Goff.
that's kind of where I was thinking as well.
It's people don't ever talk about Brunel. Like,
No, they don't.
Oh, then we should say Steve Hayden for what he did with Samuel Porter.
I mean, literally, you could probably just put the directory in there because everyone's got a legitimate play.
Yeah, they do.
Sure, yeah.
They really do. Right.
Apart from Dre Bly.
Signing of the season. New signing of the season, new player coming to the team. Candidates at the moment we have David Montgomery, Graham Glasgow, CD Juice, Cameron Sutton, Jalen Reeves-Mabin. Is there anyone that should not be on that list or should be on that list that's not there?
I'm going to steal Ant's thunder. Get rid of CD Juice, put Kindle Vildor in there.
I think that's a terrific shout.
As much, and because I said it to you obviously in the pre-show, I was the person on the panel who's most excited about CD Juice signing. No, just no. But Kindle Vildor, man.
Do you think Sutton should be in there? Because I included him on the basis that he was a CB1 for the entire year and played a lot of reps.
Can we put Dan Skipper in? Because we sign him at least once a year. So, like, you know,
he's not a new signing. He was on the team last year.
Oh, well, in that case, Jalen Reeves-Mabin can't be in there then.
Well, but he wasn't on the team last
year.
No, but we've technically signed him before, so...
Same with Graham Glasgow, then, so he shouldn't be there.
Exactly.
But you're being glib.
We found a thing here.
You're being glib. You're breaking the rules I just said.
Good, that's what I do. I break rules.
You're just a rebel,
sir. Of course. We've got the clear candidate.
Rebel without a cause.
We forgot the clear guy. We've got the guy who came in and saved our season.
No!
Jake McQuaid!
Yes,
Jake McQuaid!
Yes, in it goes. You're outvoted 2-1. This is Roar of the Lions UK and you're outvoted 2-1.
I might conveniently leave him out anyway.
No. This is a democracy, not a totalitarian regime.
I love democracy.
I'm not putting Jake McQuaid in. I refuse. I refuse.
I think we need a rebellion round here then.
No, not for Jake McQuaid. Please. Please. He wasn't even good. Oh,
Bruce Irving for those for that Saints game.
technically was never on the 53.
Now who's
Touche.
been glib?
He was signed to the practice squad. He was a signing. And
Yes, he was.
Was
You're
on
right.
the field as a Detroit Lions player this year.
You're right. Joshua Mercer's now getting on the Jake McQuaid train. I feel like I'm
There
going
we go. Everybody put McQuaid in the chat for this. Make him succumb to the pressure.
And
You can deny me and Ash, but you can't deny the viewers.
And see, here's the thing, because I saw what you put in the NFL draft chat. There's a long snapper at the combine this year.
Good. Please, let's draft him in the 4th round.
You'll make Ant very happy because it's the NC State long snapper. So,
Right. Most improved player. Do you agree with our friend Dan that this should be split into a comeback player of the year and a most improved player? Or are you happy with it just being most improved?
most improved, because I think my guy for who would be like the comeback from an injury would be the same guy I would vote for most
It's
improved.
who's taken the biggest leap from what they were at the start of the season to what they are now. Like, that's most improved player.
Mm-hmm. So, but do you think we should have a comeback player of the year as well?
No.
Yeah, because unless you want to, but said it because I'll vote for the same guy.
I do think there's so much.
Comeback's not improved. Like he could have had a really good. He could have been really good before whoever it was. Like improved should be they've gotten better.
Yeah.
Not they've returned to form after getting hurt.
Yeah. Oh no, but that's why Dan was suggesting we split it into two to avoid any misconstruing there.
Do we have enough injury comebackers to?
The only big one I can think of is Ife, because he was obviously injured for most of last year. He's finally come back, and then he had the wrist injury during the season. He comes back and he's tore the league apart from safety. That's all I can think of.
Theoretically, you can put JMO in. Theoretically,
JMO, yeah.
I
don't think there's enough. There's not enough to categorize an award there. Imo.
Yeah, because Joshua Mercer's just said he thinks Ife or JMO for most improved and maybe Barnes for comeback. But Barnes hasn't made a comeback. He's just improved.
He's improved.
That's the very definition of what we're trying to do here. Barnes isn't a comeback player. Because he's not come back from anything apart from just being bad. That's what improved is for. I think that you could maybe give consideration to players who've had injuries over a number of years, and last year was basically rehab. So maybe Romeo Okwara could potentially qualify, but it feels a bit glib.
That's not a very high bar we're setting here.
I completely agree. So, okay, we're just going with most improved player, and you get in there however you get in there, and it's just going to be our vote. Right. I have 4 suggestions for you, and then if you think there should be more, I'm very willing to hear it. Aleem McNeil, Derek Barnes, Ifeatu Melifonwu, Jameson Williams. I'm also actually going to put in a 5th, which is going to be Alex Anzalone.
I can back that.
Is there anyone else you guys feel have taken a really big leap? Joshua Mercer suggests that JRM could be a comeback player, but he wasn't injured last year. He did literally come back to the team, but that's why he's potentially signing of the year.
He could be involved in most improved.
Yeah. Jalen Roos-Maben should go in as most improved because he actually proved himself to be a viable piece on defense.
Yeah. So he should totally get in for that.
Is it bad that I want to put Sewell?
No. Yeah, it is bad. Sewell's just always been great.
Yeah, but he went from a top 5 right tackle to a top 1 right tackle. So he went from the top 5 right tackle to the top tackle in football. And I feel like the distance between what he was last year, albeit amazing, and what he is now is like, it's like saying, in kind of soccer terms, he's gone from like what Robin Van Persie was at his peak to Lionel Messi.
Yeah, but then we can, like, if we're going to go down that route, then you can start putting Amon-Ra in there. Then
or Jared Goff or whatever.
You can start putting all the cornerstones in there. They're all incredible. I think most improved should go to someone who's like the
Who
improvement.
wasn't that good?
The improvement has
Yeah.
benefited the team more because Penny already benefited the team.
Yeah, I
Amon
agree
Ra
with you.
already benefited the team. The most improved is the guy who has like, oh, this team is much better because of this guy this year. Like
And
that
maybe-
should be why they're.
Then maybe Kindle, because he went from guy sitting on the practice squad to arguably our CB1 down the stretch.
Yeah, Kendall's got a shout in there
I guess the only knock on Kindle is that,
because he's not been here all year.
yeah, he hasn't improved year to year because everyone else... Actually, so that would rule out Jalen Mabin, though. Normally, I would have suggested that this was not great last season with the Lions and better this year.
Without Kindle, we could have been a lot worse off, though. A lot worse.
But then that puts him into the signing of the season territory rather than most improved player territory.
Yeah, but I mean, like I say, he was picked up off the street. Like that kind of, implies that he wasn't doing very well. At all. That nobody wanted him, especially the Bears. Like,
yeah, okay, I've put him in. We haven't got any other suggestions, I don't think. Yeah, Rookie of the Year. Obviously, there's going to be plenty of candidates here. Jameer Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch. I don't really feel like there's a case for any of the others at the moment. Hooker didn't play at all. Broderick had one game, I think.
Raiders, against the Raiders, and then Anton Green was only active for the last couple of games of the season.
And Colby Sawstall played a couple of games but didn't play amazingly. He was fine, but I don't think he played enough to be nominated, personally. Any disagreement?
no.
Cool. Defensive Player of the Year. Candidates at the moment are Aidan Hutchinson, Alexander Zaloni, Aleem McNeil, Ifasi Melifonwu. And just because I was a big Ifasi Melifonwu person, someone else actually suggested it, so I thought it could go in. I'm not being a massive fan.
Oh, well, yeah, I would have said him anyway, yeah.
I don't think there's anyone else I've put in, to be fair.
Cool. Okay. Offensive Player of the Year. Trying to narrow this one down was insanely difficult. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jameer Gibbs, David Montgomery, Penny Sewell, Frank Cracknell. I feel like Taylor Decker is unfairly omitted as well, but what do you guys think? Should Taylor go in?
No.
No, and I'm one of his biggest fans, and I say no.
Okay. Do you think Goff should be in Offensive Player of the Year? Because effectively it is almost a non-quarterback award generically.
He should be, yeah.
He should be. Okay.
Should be, because I won't be voting him for either of that category or the next one. So,
okay, MVP to finish it off: Goff, Hutchinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penny Sewell. I do feel like MVP does have weight when you word it as MVP, which is why I was trying to distinguish player or man of the year and most valuable player, but you don't have to agree with me on that. So if you want to nominate someone else, please do. I do feel like Gibbs potentially could go on there, but I really feel like he had a second half breakout rather than being like full season.
yeah.
No. Maybe Frank has a shout for this. Maybe.
The difference in him being in the team and not in the team is palpable, and that is value at its core. So yeah.
Yeah, and he's had to play through like injuries to most of his body as well, and his performance levels haven't dropped. Like he is, yeah. If you take players out this team, like his is maybe the biggest hole of the lot of them. Outside
That's
of
what she said.
We had one question, Ash, by the way, that I hope you can work on in the meantime. Brent,
Was it D?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know it. Okay. So those are the awards, and those are the nominations that we have so far. As I said, if you are listening to the show on the audio pod and want to submit a suggestion, please go onto Twitter and at us. It will stimulate some conversation from other people as well, which is always really good for us. So please do get your suggestions in, and I'll get the fan polls out probably midweek this week. If you have any other suggestions for other awards that you want to see, open to suggestions again. Best way to talk to us about this stuff is via the Discord channel. I know I plug that all the time, but we're literally there all the time. And there's lots of really good chat, especially about draft. So just go and join, and then you can talk to us directly rather than...
Yeah, like, I'm literally, if I'm awake, I'm probably going to reply in there.
Yeah.
And I'm awake like 20 hours of the day usually, so...
It's because you're mad.
Yes.
Are there any other awards you guys want to put in?
I mean, if we have fan voted one, and then we'll have to go through moments again. But like podcast moment of the year, like something that's happened on the podcast that people.
I'd love
so
that,
hard.
but it relies on people actually dedicatedly listening to us enough that they have a moment that they remember well, and I'm not so presumptuous to think that we're important enough that people actually remember that shit. But if they do, and they do have a moment, that'd be great. I'd be very happy to put that in.
I mean, like, we could make one now, Ash. We could go on strike until Matt puts McQuaid in
yes.
the categories. Is he in there?
Yes, he is.
Was in there? Wow. We could have had a moment there. You could have seen us go on strike for the first time. That would have been a moment of the year.
We're a democracy. Can't go on strike.
Watch, as soon as the show's over, he's going to delete it.
I'm not. Jake McQuaid will go in on the graphics.
We'll have to see if our merch store can print out a shirt saying Jake McQuaid's #1 fan for Matt to take to the draft with him.
He's not even going to be on the team.
Oh, so you're thinking that now that like lads on holiday kind of thing? Because I'll worry what mine would be.
It sounds like a very in-jokey stag do shirt.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, oh god, what?
Like my shirt would say Jake McQuaid, and then it would be Jake McQuaid's #1 fan would be someone else and whatever. Yeah,
you could print it up as LSU, the Long Snappers Union.
Yes, there's a picture of Jake, Scott Daly, and I should remember this. Jimmy Landes.
We should get a picture of every Lions long snapper.
There's only been like
put
5
them on a t-shirt. Still, it'll work.
Steve Birtle.
Steve Birtle's on there. Yeah.
Every long snapper in Lions history with a recorded photo, and we'll put it on a shirt for Matt.
Christ. That is a proper Anorak shirt, that is.
You know what, that needs to happen, actually.
Yeah,
no!
I'm gonna go through and compile a list now.
Mike the Marine has nominated us for the best play-by-play team. Which I think is great, but in a field of one.
Well, at least you're going to win.
True.
We've got Romo and Nance, or Soden and Turner. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. That's giving me a giggle. Any other awards? I'll put podcast moment in if people can get suggestions to me. And if people want ideas for suggestions, there is the TikTok, which literally have moments in them.
Yeah.
But because it's easier to make the moments from the play-by-play stuff, there's an inordinate number of just me and Ash ones on there, which has changed recently, but it's still historically true. So, going away from that, but there we go. Mike the Marine says, I muted the TV and listened to you guys, which is just so cool. I can't express how cool that is. Appreciate you, Mike. In the absence of anything else that we can think of at the moment, I will leave it there. Again, if anyone else has suggestions for awards or nominations, get them in. We do have... Brent says, speaking of the store, any idea how long it takes to ship to Michigan? I'm still waiting. Thanks, Brent, for your order. I believe that it should be getting there imminently, but I can actually have a look on my app, and it should tell me. I processed it as soon as you did it, so And I believe it's fulfilled in the US. There's multiple people that can print different things. So, Brent, it says order fulfilled, estimated delivery 19th to the 21st of February. So still another week, unfortunately. Sorry about that. It takes bloody ages. So it was shipped by Uspus on February 8th, so 4 days ago. So fingers crossed it gets there a bit more quickly. Enjoy your cap. Oh, it was shipped from Latvia. That might be why it takes a while. Whereas the shirt comes from oh, hang on. The cap comes from the US, the shirt comes from Latvia. Fun times. Joshua Mercer says we should do a head coach of the year since the NFL blew it. Yeah, but then we just vote for the bloody Houston Texans head coach, and that would be that would be sad. Tony White says, does CJGJ get an award for talking trash and not backing up? He got a pick. He did get a pick.
Ooh.
We did
going deep here.
We did have some questions, which I will get to now as well. Both from Mike Marine. If you guys have any questions as well, just generally for the show, then get them in now. Mike asks, for the teams that are trying to cut salaries to get under the cap, being able to sign everyone, are there any low to mid-tier players paid between $3 and $7 million, anyone of interest? And I feel like this is going to be a fairly grindy manual exercise, but let me tell you which teams are in trouble when it comes to cap space for 2024 at the moment.
New Orleans is clearly going to be one.
They are number one
are.
with the effective cap space of minus $87.8 million. The Dolphins are second with minus $58.9 million, which is, I think, a situation which has gone unheralded, to be honest. The Bills are third with minus 54.5. Chargers are fourth with minus... No, they're not. They're third in effective cap space, sorry. Minus $55.4 million. Broncos are fifth, minus $27.9 million. Cowboys sixth, minus 22.8. Browns seventh, minus 20.8. And Steelers ninth with minus $19.7 million. So...
The funny part is it can't be a New Orleans player because the contracts are so screwed up. They can't cut anybody to save money. Like, it's that bad. So I don't think it's going to be any of them.
The problem with the Saints...
The Broncos are going to be ones because the Broncos are trying to load up for a quarterback. So they're going to be the ones who are going to be shipping everybody to try and get the picks to do it.
I believe the JJ McCarthy hype at the moment, that they go and sign him or draft him.
I think they're going to shop Sertan. I do think they'll do that this year. Like, they desperately want a quarterback.
But if they draft JJ at 12, then they're laughing. In terms of cap.
No, I'd laugh.
Well,
I'd
me
laugh
too, but then the
definitely.
cap isn't too much of a problem. The problem that New Orleans have, as you rightly said, is they've pushed too much of their money into the future, and it's hard to get rid of people. But what it does mean is that every little saving they can get here and there, they have to do. So if they save $2 million somewhere, that could be the difference between making cap and not.
So, I mean, you said, what was it? The Bills and the Dolphins are in there. There's got to be some intriguing
I'm looking through
prospects
now.
there.
The issue is quite a lot of these teams, at least with the way they've been listed on Spot Track, it's basically, or like it's a low, like their rookies are coming up quite high. It's like,
Oh, they can cut Jordan Poyer for cheap.
Yeah, Poyer's a goner.
Ooh, maybe. Because Tracy's gone this year, so...
Okay, how about this? And I realise that this is going to sound bad, and yet it is so in the realm of what the Lions have done in the past when it comes to low risk, high reward. And it's in a position of need, is Tim Patrick. And I say that knowing that he probably is going to get vet min. So like $1.5 million. Spent the last...
Right, I like that, but I was about to say, because I'm looking through Miami right now, They have to cut their kicker, Jason Sanders.
So, I mean,
in America.
it'd be a no-brainer if we could bring Jason Sanders here.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, imagine if they let Emmanuel Ogba go. They could do that for cheap.
Ogba, they
Put him alongside Hutch.
So they save around 9 mil with 4, just under. Am I looking right? Yeah, with a 4 mil dead cap. Yeah, they set its cap hit this year 17.7 mil.
Would you go for Jerry Jeudy if he got cut?
Yeah.
No.
Actually, no, sorry. All that money is dead. Sorry, they're not cutting him. They might trade him. Never mind. DJ Jones. Probably a bit higher than the amount of money you want to pay, but...
DT,
he'd be the perfect person to go alongside Ali McNeil.
Yeah.
Joshua Mercer says, Christian Kirk will cut Cousins. That sounds like a Spoonerism, but it isn't, and I like that very much.
I mean, if the Chargers wanted to cut Diane Henley, that'd be awesome.
True.
Sorry, that's made me laugh.
Yeah, I had to do it.
It's your dedication to the bit that I appreciate the most.
That's right. Hey, Justin Simmons, that could be one.
A lot of money,
Broncos
though.
cut him. Yeah, but if he's going to get cut, he'll get money from that. I think you'd be able to get a good deal out of that.
I wonder how much Mike Williams would cost.
Maybe I can back that. Well, on that vein, because I'm on the Cowboys, Cooper Rush.
No.
Osa.
Talking about dedication to the bit.
Yeah, right. Fucking Cooper Rush, you madman.
Fine, what about Osa Odigizua, the defensive tackle? He's damn good. And they save... They save about 1.3 mil. And right now they need 14. So it's not a lot, but they could potentially cut him. He's in the last year of his deal.
Could we take anyone from... I know, obviously, going to the well with Pittsburgh, with Cam and that, but they're in money troubles, aren't they?
Let me have...
is there anyone we can snatch off that defense?
14. Let's have a look.
Just someone who's better than Cam.
Trust me, their corner room is not good right now. It is. Let me get it up properly.
No, but like on the line or something, we could maybe have some.
The line we can do. God, well, of course, the Steelers have got. I know you said the line. The Steelers haven't got a defensive tackle you do love. They're not going to cut him.
Oh, they're not going to get rid of. It's Keanu, isn't it?
Yes, Keanu, yeah.
How do you guys feel about Rasul Douglas?
I'd take him.
I can take it.
I think he's underrated.
Yeah. I know they traded for him this year for a 3rd round pick, but given that they're over the cap and it's a straight $10 million saving, I kind of feel like they have to do that or re-sign with pushing it into the future. But
so long as it's not bloody Courier Elam. Fuck that for a game of soldiers.
That's a great turn of phrase.
But they won't have any savings with him though, will they? So yeah, they won't get any savings from it. To no point. I was about to say Tim Settle on the Bills, but they literally won't have any savings at all by cutting him. Oh, there's someone just underneath. Let's see how much cap they can save with him. Yeah, there's a player they can save 1.2 mil on by cutting, and they will only incur $2,500 of dead cap. Reed Ferguson, the long snapper.
Yay. No one else has come into mind.
I hear the name Reed, and I thought we were talking Eagles there.
I have heard that there is a chance that he may be available.
Send him over.
Do it, yeah. Do it.
Send Reed and Richie here this year. Like, just screw it. Let's bring all.
Oh my god! Like the Anthony's safety backfield.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be just sweet. Get Kyle Hamilton as well. You know, like Ravens lose their mind and let Kyle Hamilton go. One of them will eventually be on our roster. Like, it's statistically at some point, one of them's going to be on the roster. So
Mike's actually saying that this question was designed to be a future episode idea rather than just talking about it now. But
Yeah,
we're
I think
here.
so. Yeah,
I mean, it's off season now, so we need things to pass the time. So
yeah.
it's nice to do something that's not draft related, just for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I've got the answers to the next question lined up as well.
Okay, so the next question was, what's St. Brown and Sewell's annual salary estimated to be?
So again, spot track. There's big numbers. So Saul, yes, go Saul first. Surprisingly quite low, 22.6 mil AAV. So spot track's projecting 4 years, 90.6 million. Which puts him at right tackle rank 1 and overall in the NFL 43rd. And then, so that I'll do that.
Insert a GIF here saying, "Take my money."
Yeah, tap the credit card on this, everyone. With Amon Ra, 26.3 AAV, 4 years, 105 mil, which puts him at the 4th highest wide receiver contract and 25th in the NFL.
So they're projecting our slot wide receiver getting more money than our franchise tackle.
Yes, exactly. Admittedly, so they've done...
They're both franchise cornerstones, but...
They're both franchise. So the way they've done it with Amon Ra is they've compared that contract to what Terry McLaurin signed, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, and AJ Brown. And like compared to statistics and that, and pumped out that number. With Penny, it's Ryan Ramchick, Taylor Moton, Braden Smith, and Caleb McGarry. So Caleb McGarry is really dragging down his
Yeah, I feel like those are underplaying at least Sewell's, if not both, to be honest.
Yeah.
Carlton's asking if we're paying Sewell as right tackle and bonus if he moves to left tackle. I mean, I'm not sure you can...
You're paying him
no differentiation anymore.
You're paying him as a franchise cornerstone.
Yeah.
You're paying him to be the face of your franchise. That comes with a price tag.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. The position doesn't matter.
No.
Well, and also, right tackle, left tackle, both as valuable as each other. The conventional wisdom's out the window now.
Him and Amon Ra are going to get paid like franchise cornerstones, and rightly they should be paid like franchise cornerstones. Like, they're going to be the biggest deals we've dished out since... Good Lord. Like...
Well, the last time that we debated...
Ragnow and Decker's deals look tiny.
Exactly. I remember our debate when we were talking about Decker and whether he'd be worth his extension, because that was a really hot thing that we were talking about. What was it, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Oh, what, just before he signed it?
Yeah, whether he was worth it or then just after. Yeah. And he's been up and down. I think he has justified it just.
I can't think the last time... It'd have been Stafford the last time we paid out a monster contract like these are going to be. Like, we don't...
maybe...
We don't
Ragnow?
often give him... What was...
Ragnow's
big for the time?
Yes.
I guess for a centre it was, but again...
Number one in the league.
Again, he's best centre, but these are going to dwarf it. Like, Penny's going to break the right tackle market.
Well, the tackle market in anywhere, because I'm looking now at tackles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, no, 5. 5 of the top 10 paid tackles in AAV are right tackles. Lane Johnson, Juwan Taylor, Ryan Bramchick, Titus Howard, Brian O'Neill. Just split evenly.
Didn't Juwan... Oh, no, he didn't. He's always been right. Yeah. Yeah, Amon-Ra's going to get paid stupid amounts.
Yeah.
Like...
I really think people who think he's going to get paid between 20 and 25 will count their lucky stars if it's at the higher end of that range.
I'm thinking
they need to do it before Jefferson gets paid. That contract is going to reset everything to do with wide receivers. And they need to do it quickly.
Question from Dan Pass says, does Jonah get poached or re-signed?
Probably going to get poached.
Probably poached.
Yeah, I don't think poached is the word, but I do think he leaves.
It's not. Yeah, he goes elsewhere because he gets big. As I put in Discord, he gets a bigger amount elsewhere and goes.
The longer this goes on, the less I think he has an interest to stay with what we believe he's worth. And therefore, I think you can only poach someone if they're like interested to stay and like a deal just comes and blows him out the water, and he doesn't want to, but he's going to. Like there's this kind of stealing element there, and I just don't think the mutual interest is enough to invoke that. But I don't know.
Yeah, true.
Mike also had another question, which was, what's your opinion on Saul's cousin in the draft, Kingsley Suamatia?
Suamatia.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What do you make of him, boys?
He's in consideration for me for end of the first.
I don't like him. I used to, but the more tape I've watched of him, he's lazy. He's got bad handwork. I'm just not into him really. I was, but the tape put me off. He's not Saul, and he's never going to be Saul. But at the same point, I can accept. But no, he's got a lot of issues. No more so than the effort he gives on a lot of plays. It's just not good enough. I'm not keen. So
that's me. So I think he can be coached up on that. And luckily, in our situation, he doesn't have to be dropped in week 1. So I think we can sort of coach him.
A round 1 pick on him though, like not.
Yeah, it's fine. If he
drops to the round 3 picks, yeah. But outside of that, no. There's a lot for him.
I am with Ant on this at the moment.
There's one that sticks out to me really when they played Oregon, and there was this double team he did in a run game, and there were just 2 tackles he completely half-arsedly threw a hand towards and just ran past and did nothing. And it kind of, because at the start of this year I had him in my team to watch and I really liked him and I thought there was something there, and the more I've watched, the more I've been put off. I
haven't seen. I've only seen clips. I've been focusing on the secondary right now.
Yeah,
as I usually do.
Nice. Not for me.
Fair. But we can, yeah. I think this stuff to be there. Luckily for him, if he does come here, he's like in a situation where, let's say, I don't know, he gets picked by the Jets in the second round and he has to start, he will flame out. But at least here he's got Saul and Decker to work under. He can be like a swing tackle kind of thing and get worked up to. If it gets to that point when Decker's deal ends, he could go in there. I think that's my mindset with it. But of course, yeah. I'm going to say to the end of the first, I meant if literally there's no other options, there's quite a few players I prefer over him at that pick.
A few other questions have come in. Mike the Marine has asked, do you guys watch the Some Brown Brothers? Amon-Ra asked Equinemius if you wanted to join the Lions, what's your opinion? My opinion is he wouldn't make the team. Sorry. He would make the practice squad if he could outlast Tom Kennedy, and no one has been able to do that, so good luck.
I don't want to see another St. Brown or a Saul on this roster. Quite, we've got the creme de la creme of the families.
True, yeah.
We've got the cream of them.
Let's say you said Tim. I actually got asked about to a training at the end of training on Saturday. One of my new friends there was asking me about Tom Kennedy.
Really? Oh my god!
He's a sort of like general NFL fan. He was like, "Oh yeah, like, do you think Tom Kennedy's going to ball out in preseason again?" I was like, "Yeah, bet your house on it." Week 3 of the preseason, Tom Kennedy 6 catches, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns.
He's on the roster bubble. What else do we have? We have Dan Pask asking how many first-round quarterbacks do you think there will be in April?
Mm-hmm.
How many we think there'll be, or how many there should be?
How many you think there'll be, and how many you think there should be? Give both.
There's going to be 5. How many I think there should be? 3.
I would go 4 and 3.
Yeah, you don't like Penix, so that doesn't like.
Yes, Penix is well, no. I'll say my 5. So I think it's going to be obviously Caleb, May, Daniels, McCarthy, and Bo Nix. But I don't think that McCarthy or Nix should be first rounders. They're not first rounders in my internal brain right now.
They shouldn't be.
But
should be Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Drake May. That should be it.
And I would add JJ is that I think it will happen.
Yeah.
And then I don't think Nix or Penix go round 1.
No.
I just think quarterback needy teams will look at it and go, but all of the quarterbacks of needy teams have picked someone, or they've got someone in free agency, therefore I can afford to wait.
See, it depends. I think there's going to be a big fight at the top for the quarterbacks, but you're going to have guys like Justin Fields coming on the market who are going to help teams. They're going to fill gaps at a team elsewhere. So
someone's going to pick up Russell Wilson.
yeah,
Someone's
exactly.
got to, and he actually played okay this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposedly part of, because we said with Denver earlier, suppose they're going to ask him to restructure his contract and maybe stick around another year, which would be stupid how what they did to him, but hey ho.
Yeah, there'll be a really big fight over the top 3 QBs, but then once they're gone, anyone who's not got a quarterback at this point, I don't think they're going to reach for one at that point.
Lost Ocean says, do we have a hotel booked yet in Detroit? Still on the fence about coming up for it. Yes, we have a house booked. It's going to be fun.
Can't wait.
Giovanni Lyons II asks, do you really believe the Lions will make the Super Bowl next season?
I can see, well, we were 1/2 away from doing it this year, and with a bit of growth from our picks this year, hopefully some outside corners who can actually cover. I can see it. I know we're playing a harder schedule, but you just have to make the playoffs, and then we've got a chance, because you get in the dance, there's a chance you can do it. Just ask Eli Manning. That's how he got his Super Bowl rings.
We've got the tools and we've got the material this year to fix the problems that stopped us getting there this year. So I think, yes, we should be able to, like, talking about this is like a window where we've got a lot of our rookies on the deal. This is going to be maybe one of the best chances we get at it this year, because we can still afford to be a little aggressive this year whilst having all these deals to come. After this, then you're going to have to start replenishing the squad, when these big deals come in, and then that's when you can go backwards. So I do genuinely believe they can next year.
Yeah, for me, if you ask me, do I think that it is more likely than not, the obvious answer is no. Like, you need so much luck to get there that it's not about quality, it's just about getting the rub of the green as well. So I will always take the field if you ask me about it in terms of probability. But have we put ourselves in the best position to do it pre-draft? Yes, we have. We have done everything possible without risking the future of the team to get a good roster together, one that should be able to compete for the next 4 or 5 years. So we should be in amongst it every single year. And there are people who really want to go all in, and I sympathise with it. They're saying, winning is the only thing that matters, and you want to give yourself the best chance of doing it in like 1 or 2 years to really max your chances. But I'm like, by doing that, you then have to sell off your assets to rebuild, and you have to then do it all again. And the Eagles have done it very successfully, although they had to change their head coach to do it, which I don't want. It would just make me sad if we had to sell off some of our best players because we went for it all. When actually, do you really want to trade a 20% chance for 5 or 6 years in a row for maybe a 35% chance in 2 seasons before blowing it up? Like, how much more likely you can make it isn't worth it for me.
I mean, if by going all in, you say you sign a lot of 1-year deals to guys who can help you win now, vets, etc., you can do that. Like, go for that. It's not going to affect you long term. So I can kind of get behind that, because we're a destination for players now who want to go to a Super Bowl, who want to reach the latter stages of these big games. So you might see that in free agency. We might get a lot of 1-year guys on some decent money, be like, right, this is it. This is what we'll go and do. And then next year, if it doesn't work, you just clear the money off the roster and you start again. No harm, no foul.
Mike's asked a question, but I'm suggesting to him that might have to be for another show. He's asking, not free agents, are there any quarterbacks that you can try and trade for to entice to come here, and what would your offer be? And I think that just is going to take a little bit more research, but I don't know if you guys have any thoughts off the top of your head.
Quarterback to come here?
Cornerback.
Oh, corner.
Sorry, my diction is not so good.
I mean, I guess
I'll do
that's
some research.
the rub of the green, isn't it? Because I guess that's the going for it now. If you go for Satan and give the Denver Broncos your first round pick.
Oh, just one?
So, well, this year specifically.
This year and next year, I would imagine.
Yeah, but that would kind of be the gamble, is you give them that so they can go and do their trade up for a quarterback, and we get that guy now. The whole thing has never been, Brad's always been sort of very, I'm going to keep my picks and I'm going to use them. I'm not going to trade them away. With him, it's always about value. Is he going to get value out of it? If you don't think you can get a better corner at pick 29 in the long run, then you go and do it. If you do, then you don't. It depends who they like, who they're high on, who they think. Because, I mean, realistically, you do need a number one in there. That I think you can get one out of the draft, but if you do want your Super Bowl window to be next year, you don't really want to be relying on a rookie to be the forefront of it. But at the same time, again, you don't want to screw yourself by overpaying for one. So it's a tough question. I think you'll see something like Mosley this year again.
Yeah, me too.
Like, you will get someone who's down on injury luck, or who is looking for a bigger payday and can't get one this year, who is better than what you're going to be paying him because he's on a prove it, and he could potentially be really good. I think you're going to see that again.
Completely agree. 2 more questions and then maybe we'll call this. Carlton Wood asks, where are we getting our 2024 starting left guard from specifically? I'm saying round 1 from the draft. Assuming Jonah Jackson leaves, of course, which is the premise to the question. Where's our starting left guard coming from, boys?
Yeah, well, because I think the guy that me and Ant like in the draft plays right usually. So I think our left guard is already here. I'm going to re-sign him to another 1-year deal. Graham. He played it in Tampa when Jonah wasn't here. He's played left guard for us before. Just because we re-signed him doesn't mean we're sticking him right back in at right guard. He can play both spots. So I think our left guard next year, right now, if you ask me if you had to ask me if I had to say this is going to be him, like it'd be Graham next year at left guard, and then it'll be insert rookie here at right guard. Because it's a bit of an easier situation for a rookie to play between the best centre in the league and the best tackle in the league, rather than the best centre in the league and the 10th best left tackle in the league.
I think it's coming from the draft, but I don't think round 1. I would venture round 3. And I think we'll just
venture a day 2 pick goes on a guard this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would venture a day 2 pick goes there, and he'll start this year.
Be interesting to see how Zach Zinter's progress goes, because if he actually does get back healthy with the timeline that he's hoping for, then he might be in play with like the final round 3 pick. And that could be a steal.
Yeah, based off the stuff I see for the player that I love that had a similar injury the month before, it is possible. Because I think there is footage of Jay Trav on his Twitter being up and mobile, so maybe it's possible.
No. I always had Zinter below 2 or 3 others, even when he was healthy. He's good, but I always had others above him.
Yeah.
Sure.
Haynes, Graham
Mahogany.
Mahogany.
Mahogany's the huge one. Mahogany's the one who's played both extensively.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, I would have Zinter below several others.
Okay, I think... Oh, Dan asked one more and then we're going to go. Which position group gets our free agency money this year?
Corner.
I don't see any other option, really. Maybe defensive tackle?
True.
Yeah, they've got to figure it's probably going to be that. Unless they decide to go... and replace the guys on the offensive line.
Oh, okay, yeah, true.
If Jonah does decide he's gone and, Graham's too expensive or whatever, we might go in on offensive line.
Okay, I think that I'm going to draw this one to a close. Unless there's anything else I've missed. I don't think so. Lost Ocean's asking for Danielle Hunter and Jalen Johnson. If you want to spend $40 million a year on 2 players, that'd be a great way of doing it. Unfortunately, the Lions do not have that much money in their cap space. They just don't. Not if you actually want to fill the roster with our guys. But we shall see. It will all shake out at some point. We have put some void years on some players' contracts in the past, although not many, to get a little cap room. So there's no reason why we might do it again. But anyway. And Ash, anything you guys want to bring up before we get out of here?
No.
No, I think we're all covered.
All right. Guys in the chat on the audio pod, you've been absolutely fantastic as always. As I say, next week is going to be our awards show, so please join us for that. It's going to be a fantastic day. Anne and Ryan are going to be back for the college football podcast later on this week with the Senior Bowl reviews, so check them out for that, because there are some risers and then there are some big risers from the Senior Bowl, and they are going to be names that you need to learn come late April, so why not get started now and check them out later in the week. Our socials for ROTL Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok, and the group for Worldwide Fans, Detroit Lions Fans UK, One Pride Worldwide. The website where you'll see lots of draft content going up in the next few months is rotluk.com. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us 5 stars on your podcast provider. Just remains for me to thank Ant and Ash for doing this with me. It's been great fun as always. The Super Bowl's done for another year. We eagerly await the Lions getting back to deep in the playoffs in just under 12 months' time. You guys are fantastic in the chat and listening. We'll see you next week or this week for the college show. Let's go, Lions, One Pride.
One Pride.
Recording stopped.